Hi, you have reached Graphically Alex, where we discuss all things E fall by letter D with a particular focus on BINGE. So today we are continuing this podcast. I want to say that Auntie's tired. The hack squats hath strucketh again. It's tough. I don't know. I don't think people talk enough about how it is difficult to build muscle. It hurts. But as I've stated many times, I'm not one of those that's like, I love feeling sore. I don't, but at this point, I felt sore for so long that I'm just like, okay. But doing a lot of I don't know, the sore ass, it's tough. It's tough. Doing a lot of butt, it's tough. So yeah, that's all I have to say. So my soul is already near death, and this hasn't even begun. I have my crystals here. I'm ready to go.
Genuinely, he's like, surprise, I have a buffet here.
Actually.
Surely this will get her to enthusiastically step on the scale.
Honestly, maybe if it was a Diet Coke, I don't know the kind of woman she is, but from what you've said about her, she seems like she would do it for a Diet Coke. I would too.
Me too. You catch me at 3 p.m., I would do it for a Diet Coke.
You catch me at 3 p.m., I'll step on a scale for just about any reason.
Oh, if they had a house-made iced latte, back to Anna Nicole. She repeatedly says no and is clearly very upset and uncomfortable, but they keep harassing her and yelling at her and trying to force her to
I
step
think they are talking about the Howard Stern interview. I think that's what they're talking about.
on a scale so they can see how much she weighs. Steven Singer, which I have a new enemy. I have seen his billboards around the Chicago area. I think his website's literally called I Hate Steven Singer, and that's all he puts on it. And that's true for me.
Oh, it's the most hated jeweler.
Steven Singer from Steven Singer Jewelers calls in and offers a $10,000 diamond necklace and says, I'll make it extra long so it fits her, and a $1,500 watch for her son if she steps on the scale, to which she said, I got enough diamonds. Basically, the entire episode is these losers trying to harass Anna Nicole into stepping on this damn scale. And I think she should have been allowed to Molotov that studio.
I think she is allowed. Oh,
Yeah, time machine.
okay.
And why am I telling you this?
Why?
I think this entire Howard Stern episode, and honestly his entire show, is such a perfect time capsule of how much fat phobia, misogyny, racism, ableism, etc. was normalized, but not only normalized, monetized for entertainment. This show was multiple people's entire job. It was their career and their livelihood. And people listen.
I don't think that they have a sense of humor. I don't think that they understand comedy. I don't think they understand that comedy is taboo. That's a huge part of what makes something funny, is that it's something you're not supposed to say. So it's, whatever. Auntie has a major criticism of Gen Z, and I'm going to state this, and I probably will continue to state this. Just because you don't like something, it doesn't mean that you're a better person for not liking it. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean that there's this political narrative behind it. It means you don't like it. That's what it means. It's an aesthetic choice. So something like racism, misogyny, all these things, if you're talking about it from a political perspective, it has to do with power. It has to do with policy. It doesn't have to just do with feelings. Feelings are feelings. It's a different realm. Feelings are also subjective, and feelings are not always rooted in reality either. So, for example, under Jim Crow, it doesn't matter how you feel about race. The law is still there, regardless of your feelings. If you are being harassed for dating interracially, it doesn't matter how you personally feel about it. It's going to happen. that's racism. It's it's something that is in reality. It's not just your feelings. So something like this, she's choosing to go on this show, the Howard Stern show. She knows exactly what it is. They're assholes to basically everybody, but it's for comedic purposes. It's like roasting, it's all that kind of stuff. I mean, roasting in general is not torment. Roasting is not a political statement. It's not any of those things. You guys are just weak. I'm sorry. I guess give me another auntie card. This is weak. It's weakness. And it's not to say you're weak for not liking it, but you're weak for not being able to just state that you don't like something. That's fine. I will say I did not like Howard Stern. I still don't like Howard Stern. I didn't like him at the time either. I'm not the only person that didn't like him. And people maybe had opinions on it, but they left it at that. It was never like, well, I judge you because you like him. That's really dumb. I don't know. It's stupid.
Listened.
Yep.
There was a little bit of that, like, in certain fandoms back then. Like, I was a major para whore, and yes, we called ourselves para whores. I don't give a fuck what Haley Williams said when she was like, we're a para family. I'm like, bye. We're para whores. And I would fight in the forums about it and stuff. And there are certain fandom wars and things like that, but it's still like kind of cringe, but it's a little different. It wasn't like, well, you don't like Paramore because you're misogynistic or something like that. There maybe would have been a conversation about her being somewhat of a trailblazer in the scene at the time. There were certain political issues that came up as a result of her being a woman and leading the band. That was a conversation, but it's a separate conversation of if you like the band or not. So it was kind of like, okay, this is different. Like, she's leading this band. She's the front woman. She's the spokesperson of the band. This is kind of different. But they were popular. So it's like, I don't know that I could use Paramore as evidence of misogyny because they were a popular band and they were somewhat mainstream, especially within the scene. So it's nuanced. There were certain attitudes at the time for that kind of thing. I don't think that you can say that it's 100% one way or 100% the other. But what I can tell you is aesthetic choices, like if you liked a band or not, were not seen as political. If you said a woman can't lead a band like that, then that's more of a political statement rather than I don't like Paramore because she's too whiny or something. I don't know what they'd say. I don't even remember. But, or like her vocals aren't that good live and stuff like that, which at the time she struggled a little bit, I'm going to be honest. But she's better at this point. She has really good vocals in general, but that's a whole other side note. The point is, there's a difference between a political conversation and a personal conversation. And you can have both if you want, but I think it's important to have those distinctions when we talk about these topics. And it's partly why fat phobia gets lumped in with other legitimate issues. Because they can't separate their feelings from their politics, or they can't separate their emotions from the collective. It's like, this is your personal feeling versus a collective issue. Again, let me state it again, just in case anybody doesn't understand. To say in the 2000s that Haley Williams cannot lead a band because she's a woman, that is more of a bigoted statement or more of a political statement. To say I don't like Paramore because I don't like Haley Williams' live performances, that is a totally different statement. And those are conflated in Gen Z all the time. I also think that the conflation of feelings with politics is a major issue in terms of the TR, the toxic ritualistic, E followed by the letter D. This happens often in terms of the politicization of fatness as a way to distract from the coping mechanism or a way to justify the coping mechanism. This can also happen with religion, so it is not inherently political. It can also be spiritual, religious, but it tends to have to do with belief systems. However, it doesn't say much about the politics in and of itself or about the religious or spiritual practices in and of themselves. It's really about the disorder, and that's what this is. But the conflation of the two in Gen Z, I think, is a risk factor for fat acceptance rhetoric, for this kind of lumping of everything together and creating people who otherwise would not support fat acceptance and making them zombies, basically making them level 1 zombies, people who support it even though they typically wouldn't have, because basically they're manipulating you into believing this because of shared political beliefs or spiritual religious beliefs or anything like that. So it's something to be aware of. I've talked about it a lot on the channel, and I think it's important for young adults in general to understand the difference between political belief, feelings, subjective experiences and emotions, and basically aesthetic choices. They're all three different things. I think a lot of people don't understand the distinctions between the three, but they are all different. So I just want you to think about that.
For entertainment. This show was multiple people's entire job. It was
their emotional feelings about people liking Howard Stern at the time is not a political opinion. And it's also like they're not understanding that it's just somebody's aesthetic choice of finding him funny. They loop it all together because I'm certain that there were many people that liked Howard Stern that were not racist, that were feminists, that were all those things, because he just probably had a broad appeal. And so it's like people can see the joke or not, or they like the style or they don't. It's different. It's a different thing. And also times shift too. So times change because trends change. It happens all the time. It is just a part of life. So everything is always changing. Sometimes things loop back around. Sometimes things are repackaged in different ways. I think you can look at that through a social, political lens if you choose to. But when it comes to framing those conversations around fatness has never been a political issue. It doesn't actually exist. There has never been a stripping of rights based on fatness. There's never been discrimination, certainly not legal discrimination because of fatness. Really nothing of the sort. If anything, for most of human history, fat people have been very privileged, or they had to do with having more access to food than a lot of other people. And to a certain extent, that's still true today, because there are a lot of areas of the world where people struggle to get enough food, or where people are hungry often, and there are more privileged countries where people are fat. So I would say if you want to look at it through a social political lens, it actually would not be in your favor at all. But that's looking at it objectively without putting our own feelings or emotions into it. It's looking at it as this is what history was in terms of fatness. If fatness is political, the only way that we can look at it is through a lens of having enough financial access to having more food, to be able to be obese, and what that means. So whether that's you're in a village and your husband is the baker, so you have more access to food, that can have an economic statement, right? Rather than working in the coal mines or something. It could be different, okay? But it has more to do with class than anything. And once again, it's not really, you're not looking at it accurately because your feelings are so, like, their feelings are so conflated into the political side of it that they can't actually look at it through a critical lens or through a political lens, because it would literally be the opposite of what they're saying. It would be that they are actually more privileged, but they are stating that they're not. So, from a psychological perspective, once again, let's understand it is a coping mechanism. It is a way of shifting blame. It's a way of campaigning for the issue so that you can stay in the issue. It's not political, but if you want to look at it through that lens, it would be the opposite of what they're saying. And they don't like that. It's very inconvenient.
Career and their livelihood, and people listened.
Yep.
Which we still see today with podcasts
like ours.
Speaking of a series of unfortunate events, skinny Anna Nicole Smith.
I also think it's important to understand that somebody choosing to downsize is an individual choice, not a political decision. Just as somebody being in an E followed by the letter D is an individual choice and not a political decision. I hate that I even have to say this out loud, but I think it's something that, in particular, Gen Z needs to understand. Because again, those are more of like aesthetic choices, emotional choices, psychological decisions, even subconscious decisions, rather than political decisions. It's totally different, but they constantly conflate it.
Haunting.
In October 2003, Anna Nicole became the spokeswoman for Trim Spa, a dietary supplement consisting mostly of ephedra and caffeine, although the US government banned ephedra in 2003, which forced the company to seek a new formula. What is ephedra, you may be thinking? Ephedra occurs naturally in the Chinese herb ma huang and contains ephedrine and pseudoephedrine, stimulants that can constrict blood vessels. In low doses, they act as decongestants, but in higher doses, they can raise blood pressure. The stimulant effect contributes to the herb's effectiveness as an appetite suppressant, especially when combined with caffeine, aspirin, or both. A variety of studies associate ephedra use with cardiovascular problems, including high blood pressure, palpitations, and heart attacks. More than 800 dangerous reactions have been reported.
We need to understand, too, that the use of substances in order to change body comp does have toxic ritualistic roots, for sure. It does have E followed by letter D roots, okay? And that's why there is a little bit of a factor with Ozempic, because people that have these mental health issues, they will misuse them, or they will use it in such a way that it is not intended, and they will lie about it, and they will have horrible health effects because of it, that then other people in the issue will try to use to get it banned. So that happens all the time. I talk about it in my description. I have the State of War of Anti-Fat Acceptance video where I really broke that all down. It's very long and drawn out, but you kind of have to be when you talk about this stuff. But that is a pattern that we see throughout society often, is people with E followed by letter D using substances to accelerate changes or whatever, and then leading to horrible results. So that's still a problem, basically.
Among them, heart attacks, strokes, seizures, and sudden death. Psychosis, insomnia, and heat stroke have also been reported.
I don't get why they banned it.
Smith claims Trim Spa helped her lose 69 pounds. In ads, Anna Nicole stepped out of a limousine into a crowd of flashing cameras. "I'm back," she said, smiling, as a photo of a heavier her floated across the top of the screen like a haunting. "Anna, how did you do it?" the paparazzi screamed. "Trim Spa, baby."
We should do a Fat Spo ad like this. And it like flashes us as a ghost, but it's just us in the same bodies.
It's just us before we started Fatspo.
But damn it.
Yeah, and I think this is a perfect example of how fat people can lose weight and then promote anti-fatness, harmful dieting supplements, disordered eating.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a nuanced discussion because she was a fat woman and got ridiculed. I'm sure, especially with early 2000s paparazzi and media. I don't even know if Perez Hilton existed yet, but I'm sure some form of him did.
Oh, yeah.
Just the constant people dehumanizing you and making fun of your body to your face and just like in the media. And so for so many people for so long to criticize your body and criticize you for being fat, I can understand that at a certain point you'd be like, well, I don't have people around me to help me work through this. I don't really know other fat people to help me. So yeah, maybe there is something wrong with me and my body. So I'm just going to lose the weight, because then obviously we both know that once you lose weight, people treat you differently.
Yep.
And suddenly they're like, wow, maybe you're a human being. Does that make it okay to be the spokesperson for a sketchy diet supplement, diet pill? No.
So again, I think there is this toxic ritualistic reinforcement that smaller is always better. So they don't realize they do this. So this is actually very reinforcing of the reductive side of the TR. It's a way of showing how they encourage each other often. So it's the same thing when somebody in the reductive or somebody talking to Mia is like, if you're big, people treat you horrible all the time. It incentivizes people with BINGE to get bigger or to stay in the issue because they want to be victimized or they want to feel like a victim. It's a way of controlled pain. I've tried to explain this very often. It is psychological. It's, again, remember what I said earlier in this episode. It's not political. It's psychological. It's subconscious. It's personal. Actually, it's not political at all. So I'm not saying victimization in terms of politically or even necessarily in reality, because it has to do with the twisted sense of controlled pain, basically. And that's how it registers in BINGE, is self-sabotage or failures, these kind of things. So that's basically how both sides reinforce each other.
I just like have been having this conversation so much with my therapist, my friends. It's hard to hold two truths. Fucking hate it. Like, I can't be upset at people for going on Ozempic when I know tangibly it makes their life easier and like better in that way. But then, yes, and I can be upset when they start promoting weight loss to people and talking about their weight loss online, because that's completely different. It's the difference.
So you can be upset, but it doesn't have any effect on the other person, nor does it create any influence on what they should do. It is, again, a personal feeling that you have. That personal feeling does not tell somebody else what they must do in their own life. No, you can feel however you want about it, but you can't control their behavior. And that's where we get into a distorted, DIS-ordered view of these conversations. You don't get to tell somebody how to live their life when it comes to their weight. If you were to do that, that would be glorifying obesity. That would be encouraging health issues in the other person. That would be reaching for somebody else to keep you in your psychological coping mechanism and wanting to be reinforced by another person. When people talk about their downsizing or they talk about how they're getting better, or all these things, you don't like it because it attacks your coping mechanism, which you've identified with. Again, it's not a political statement of the other person, unless if they make it one, but typically people don't. It's your personal reaction to what they are doing. Two different things with two different implications. Part of the weight of politics is that people who disagree with it have to live under it. So if the rules change or the laws change, it doesn't matter how you feel about it, you still have to live under it. If we're talking about taxes, for example, you still have to pay the taxes whether you agree with it or not, regardless of what it's going to. That's why it's a different weighted conversation than downsizing. If somebody else downsizes, it's a personal choice of theirs, and they can advocate for you to make a personal choice as well. But advocating, arguing in favor of personal decision making is not political. It's not. It's not a law. It's convincing, it's argumentation, it's all these things. And again, I think in the toxic ritualistic mind, particularly with BINGE, these things are all jumbled up. The nuances of these conversations they're too difficult for a disordered brain to handle, because the brain is not functioning at top capacity. I call it brain fry. TR brain fry. E followed by the letter D, brain fry. Your reward circuitry is all jacked up and you can't think clearly anymore. So these are certain subtle nuances in thought that I don't know if they're capable of anymore. Honestly, especially this person. I cannot remember their name. But they're more severe. They're a level 3. The other one is a level 2. So when you're very severe, you can't, these nuances in thought are like impossible. And that's beyond the Gen Z conflation, which is just like, if you feel this way about a movie or TV show, it means that you have this political opinion, which that's like general Gen Z cringe. But they're taking that to a disordered length, if that makes any sense. It's beyond that.
Difference between, like, I guess in a way, kind of the difference between being a victim and a perpetrator is like whether or not you're walking around and being like, hey guys, go follow my pro-Anna Tumblr, like kind of vibes, or if it's like you being like, I'm struggling with this and I know it's an issue. Very different.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference between losing weight and being normal about it versus losing weight and then...
So they want you to downsize silently or downsize in a way that it still reinforces their belief. So if you were to say something like, I'm downsizing because I'm privileged and I have access to GLP-1, they would be fine with that because it gives them an out. If you were to downsize and say, I'm downsizing, but I'm just lucky. I'm just a genetic freak. Even if you're to be like, I'm downsizing, but I'm able to walk on water. I have this spiritual power to walk on water. So it's okay if I downsize because it doesn't say anything about you. They wouldn't be mad at any of those things, even if it's ridiculous, to be honest. They wouldn't be mad at it. Or I'm downsizing, but I'm so sad about how much better I'm treated in society because it still reinforces their beliefs. I'm downsizing, but I have to actively fight fat phobia because fat people are oppressed in this, whatever political buzzword system we're living in, right? All those things are reinforcing to them. So, and I mean both of them. So it doesn't matter. They would be fine with all those things. But if you were to say, I'm downsizing because I took responsibility for my life, and I think you should too, they're not going to like that. That's going to be a huge issue. I'm downsizing because I'm tracking cows and I believe in caloric realism. They're going to have a huge issue with that. I'm downsizing because I no longer have an E followed by the letter D. They're going to have a huge issue with that. Those things they're not going to like at all. because in their mind, it attacks the underpinning of their behaviors. Okay? So I think I'm going to have to end it today here, not because I want to, but because I exist in an oppressive structure. No, I'm just kidding. No, but because there are other people in my life and I have other plans today, and Auntie messed up on my timelines, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everybody. But I will be back next week, and I'll be back for members tomorrow, or today, sorry, tonight, basically. But I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for being here. And maybe it's better that this one was shorter anyways, because it was kind of like more intellectual in a sense, like what I was talking about. So maybe the message will be more clear if it's shorter. I don't know. Maybe I'm just coping. Maybe I'm in the copium den with Robin today. No, I'm just kidding. I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Have a good rest of your day, night, etc. Peace.